Bruchim Aboim, B'Shem Ergen Shir Torah. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shiur from Rabbi Zev Smith Shlita on the Inyan of Bdinej HaGorem Meniat רווח לחבירו. Caused loss of profits is one obligated to pay. Well, I'd like to have the grace Sukkos to sponsor your shiur. Call Ergen Shir Torah 718-851-8651.
The Mishnah Baba Basra, the 10th parak, Mishnah Ches. If you want to become smarter, do Bdinej Mamanis, learn Bdinej Mishpat. She'elecha Mektzaya Gadol, B'Torah Gadol, Mehen Shem K'Mayin HaNoveya. It's just flowing with Chachma, with wisdom. And the emphasis is when, besides the fact that Chayshim Mishpat is Negeya, it's also Pashut, it sharpens the mind. And especially the sugya of today, the concept of causing someone to lose money, a loss of profit, T'chsam Soif and a Tshuva, in Chayshim Mishpat Kufay in Ches writes, this is Meisim B'chol Yoim B'Ifanim Shoinim. And I'll give you a few examples and we'll hopefully be zeicha to learn the sugya properly. Someone worked for someone else, he actually picked up the esroigim, this is still in Elul. He picked the esroigim from the airport and put it in his garage, and then he brought it to the seicha when the season began to sell esroigim. He brought a bunch of boxes. After Sukkos, he found a complete box, not just one esrog, a box of esroigim that he totally forgot about. So you had probably close to 50 esroigim, and you're talking about a tremendous loss. You know, now it's worth esrog jelly, nothing more. Does he have to pay? Someone gave someone else money to make an investment. He says, please, this is a great deal. And the person forgot to do it. He lost a wonderful opportunity to make money. Someone hired a worker and then he canceled the worker. And he said, listen, I didn't hurt you. You just lost the profit. A tenant moves out of an apartment, it didn't give the landlord enough notice, and the landlord could not find a substitute tenant. We notice the common denominator is causing someone to lose a profit. And the question is, how does halacha respond to such a question? Are you chayiv? Is there a partial chayiv? So we're familiar with the concept of a mazik. A mazik basically means someone damages someone else. There are many chayuv. There are 5 different types of tashlumin, which we all know. Mazik is so much chayiv, even shaygit, because adam muad la'olam. But then there's another category that's not a full mazik, and that's what's called a grama. And I'll give you a simple example. Someone's in a mischievous mood, and he wants to, taunt his friend, so he throws his friend's vase out the window. But he went, before he threw the vase out the window, and put a big mattress on the ground. So the vase will hit the mattress, will not break. Someone else, even a more mischievous mood, a different fellow, ran out, schlepped away the mattress, the vase came crashing down and broke. Who's chayiv to pay? The first person didn't do anything, because after all, he threw a vase onto a mattress. The second person didn't throw the vase out the window. He schlepped away the mattress that caused the hezek. Zok the Gemara in Bava Kama Daf Chavav and Mebez, that's the Psakat Ramah and Shin Pei Vav Gimel. The first person is surely pata. The second person is considered a grama b'nizakin. What does that mean? He caused hezek. He didn't make hezek. He didn't throw the vase out the window. Or the Gemara has another example. Someone opened the door of a barn and the animals escaped. That's also a case where he caused hezek. Grama b'nizakin is pata. Just like in Ilchas Shabbos, it's not a ma'aseh chilul Shabbos. In nizakin, it's not a ma'aseh grama. But Rabbi say, let's be honest, this person did a big avla. With malicious intent, he planned on causing someone a loss. So this says the Gemara in Bava Kama Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis. There's a concept of chayiv medinei shamayim. You didn't beat the system. You think you did. But what a yid should go b'kavana to mazik someone else, he's chayiv medinei shamayim. Which basically means Bezdin cannot force him to pay, but Bezdin will encourage him strongly to pay. And according to the Meiri in Bava Kama Nun Vav and the Shita Mekabetzes and many places can quote this, he's postel le'edis until he pays. So it's not a real chiyuv, but it's a pretty serious chiyuv. Now personally, I'm always more scared of Chayv B'Dinei Shemayim than Chayv B'Dinei Yodam, because I don't want to be on the Bar Shlam's blacklist. Chayim b'dinei shemayim is, you better behave. L'maisa, this is the side of Grama. Now, let's assume the same story with the mattress. But the person was walking in the street and he sees a mattress on the floor. Now, so I might trip in it. So he picks up the mattress and puts it to the side, and just then, the vase smashes and breaks. Is the second person chayiv? Now, he meant well, but then again, he was goyim the breaking of the vase. Should we say, Adam mud la'olam? The answer is no. This case, he's not a mazik. He's only a grama. What's the avla of a grama? With malicious intent, you try to be mazik. But if he meant well, or he's only a shaygig, the most paiskim say, this is Marit and Ala Tzadikeh, the Shloim and Chazanish, and many other paiskim say, when is there chiyav latzi b'dei shamayim if you intended to beat the system, to be mazik and get away with it? But if you meant well, or you didn't mean bad, then indeed the person would be put. So let's chazar. We have a case of a mazik that's chayiv fully. Grum is chayiv b'dei shamayim. Unless he meant well, there's no chayiv. Now I rest my case. What would you say? Let's think. A case where a person caused someone else to lose money. He left the box of esrogim in the garage, or the other cases that we mentioned. Tenant moved out without giving ample warning to the balabos. He's not a mazik, but then again, he caused a loss of profit. Isn't that a grama? You caused someone to lose money. Oy bazoi, it should be chayiv, at least chayiv latzi b'dei shamayim, unless of course there was no kavanah. But then again, there's a big chilik. In all the cases of grama b'nezakin, there's a mazik. The vase is broken, the animal was stolen or got lost. But in this case, nothing was damaged. Nothing was even here. He lost a potential profit. There are two chilukim. Number one, I didn't damage anything you had because you didn't have it. And number two, who said it would materialize? Maybe you wouldn't have the profit. You thought. People like to be very optimistic when it comes to making money. Yeah, I would have made the deal. How do you know? So every case of menias rovach, first of all, I didn't damage anything. A potential, like bala olam. And also it's only a suffix. So maybe it's even less than the regular case of grama. But you'll say, wait a minute, you can't fool me. I remember my Parshas Mishpatim. If someone does hezek, one of the chiyum he has to pay is sheves. What does sheves mean? The amount of money he could have made had he gone to work. Why is he chayiv? That's only manias rovach. Don't we see from the case of sheves, manias rovach is chayiv? The answer is that's not a raya at all. Because that case is an adam hamazik. Once a person is labeled adam hamazik, then we could throw the book at him, so to speak, and we'll say you have to pay even sheves. But our case of anias rovach, where there is no mazik, who said there's any chiyuv whatsoever. So we have to look to a Mishnah in Bava Metzia Daf Kuf Daled Amud Aleph. Basically, a person owns a lot of fields, which is typical in those days, but he couldn't be in all the fields at the same time. So he hired a sharecropper that worked for him, and they divide the produce, whatever, they made up a deal. So the Mishnah says, if the worker was negligent and just left the field barren, didn't do anything, Zok the Mishnah, he has to pay. You made up, if you're not going to work, you're going to have to pay. So not only he doesn't get a profit because there was no profit, but the worker has to pay the owner of the field for the loss of profit. Wait a minute. Why is he chayiv to pay? It's just a loss of profit. Why don't we say from this aliya that menias rovach is chayiv? The answer is, look at the Mishnah again. It's not a raya. The Mishnah explains why is he chayiv to pay. That was part of the stipulation. I made up with my worker. You can't be lazy. If you're not going to work, you're going to have to pay me. So really, if anything, from the Mishnah's a raya fakert. Typically, minias rovach is pata, unless there was a pre-agreement that if you don't work, you're going to have to pay. So now we have to turn to another source, and that's a Tosefta b'Metzia Daled Yud Aleph. Hanoisen mois lechaveirai likach ben peres lamachtzas aschar. He gave someone peres or money, whatever it is. He says, "This is a good deal. Go buy it, and I'll make a lot of profit." And the person simply ignored his request. He took the money, but didn't do the deal, and now the person lost a wonderful opportunity of making money. Zakti Tosefta ein loy alav ela tarumais. He has no financial claim to the person that didn't do his job, except he could have tainis on the person. We'll soon see what that means. But the question is, why doesn't he have any financial claim? I lost a wonderful opportunity to make big money. I told you to do it, you said you would do it, and you didn't do it. Zakti Yishalmi and Bav Metzia Hey Gimel quotes the Tosefta Hada Amra Hamavatel Kis Chaverai Ein Loy Ol Ela Tarumais. Zakti Tosefta, that's where the Yishalmi understands, you're chayiv if you're mazik. Mevatel Kis Chaverai means I gave you money to invest and you put it down. You wasted an opportunity of making money. We call it menias rovach, which is correct. The Yerushalmi calls it mevatel kisa shel chaveiro. It's the same thing. What it means is you cause me to lose a profit. And zok the Yerushalmi, from the Tosefta we see menias rovach is pata. Why is it pata? We understand, like we said. There's no hezek. There's not even a Gromah and a zaken. A lost profit. First of all, you don't know what would have been. And even if you vadai, why are you mechayiv? I wasn't mazik you. Now this is amazing. I should mention it. Ein loy alav ela tarumais. I made a cheshbon. I saw this in 8 places in the Gemara, and 5 places in Shulchan Aruch. We find the concept you're allowed to have tarumais. Now people might be thinking you're allowed to have complaints. I have complaints all the time. Angry about this one, upset about this one. But in halachic it doesn't talk that way. Being upset with someone is sinas chinam, kas, whatever, it's nothing good. But that's the reinkite of midas a person expected to have. So Salanta in his Seif and his Sibasar Amid Nun Ches says, Stam, someone disappoints you, you can't be angry, work it out and give aita. But there are cases that Chazal give you the right to have tarumais. You're allowed to be fatayinit, because he caused you a loss of profit. Now it's more interesting that shtickle is a murdik insight. So Salamta says, if someone's fatayinit, they have a great idea, he says, be moichel the person. Then, he says, just like if someone owes you money, you could demand money, but if you moichel him, you can't ask for the money, it's not yours. Once you moichel him for what he did, you don't even have a right to have tarumais. So if you have no right to have tarumais, you're not going to have tarumais. So that's the way of, fooling yourself or controlling yourself. Once you have no right to tarumais, it's unthinkable a yid should have tainis on another yid, which is something to certainly aspire to. But here we see tarumais you're allowed to have, but menias rovach is pata. Before we apply this lamaisa, we have to learn one more shtickle of Gemara. And that the Gemara is in Bav Metzia Daf Ayin Gimel Amid Beis. Basically, there was a big sale on wine. So all the wine soichrim would buy wine during that big sale and have enough inventory to make panasa. Someone gave money to his friend, go buy me wine, now was the best deal. And the person didn't. And he lost the opportunity of buying wine at a great reduction. So the shliach has to pay a certain amount to the person that sent him. And the kasha is, why is there any type of payment? What about menias rovach? So the Rosh and Bav Metzia, Hey Samachtes, the Rajmuk, Yosef, the Ramban, the Mordechai, almost all the Rishonim say, this is an exceptional case. That he made up with the shliach, I'm giving you money, this is my only opportunity, if you don't do it, you're going to have to pay. So it's very similar to the Mishnah in Bava Metzia. Im loy eved, ashalem. Zok the rush, he made up, im la yikna, you're going to have to pay. So in other words, basically nothing changed. Menias rovach is potter, unless you make up. However, there is a shita of the Ritva of Anart. The Ritva quotes his Rabbi that says this, and he says this is a din gadol, and he says a yesod that has a tremendous impact on our sugya. Basically says the Ritva, if someone entrusts someone else to do a mission, and the person accepts responsibility, even if he didn't make up, you're going to have to pay if you don't do it. But I know that you trusted me, you sent me, no one else. I am accepting responsibility. Midin arev. Now, if you remember when you learned Bav Metzia, arev means a person's allowed to accept responsibility for what he's not chayiv to, a guarantor, and a loan. Now, I say, if he doesn't pay, I'm going to pay. Why am I chayiv to pay? It's not my loan. But you can accept responsibility. So the Ritva seems to suggest when someone trusts someone else, the person feels good about it, and without a stipulation, it's an automatic agreement to be responsible if I'm negligent in my responsibilities. And what's interesting, the Ritva says this would explain what's otherwise a big kasha. Imagine you hire a worker, plumber, comes to my house 9 o'clock in the morning, the sink is not working. He says, listen, I'm busy, you sure? Yeah, 9 o'clock I need you. So he cancels other work, comes to you, he's about to come to you, 5 to 9, he give him a call, I somehow fixed my sink, don't come. And the plumber is hysterical, what do you mean? I'm on the way, I already gave him another job, you can't cancel me. So the fellow says, what do you mean? Menias rovach, have a nice day, and hangs up on him. So this is not true. This is a Mishnah. Remember the Mishnah beginning of a Seiches Omnin, that Einheim Beizem Bav Metzia, especially if the worker started coming, you have to pay him. Fragt the Ritva, but why is he chayiv to pay? It's only Menias rovach. Zok the Ritva, this is a case of Orev. He was held responsible because he trusted each other. There was a mutual trust, and therefore you have to pay. V'zen didn't go. Now the Chasam Sofer, what I mentioned earlier in Chayshim Mishpat Kuf Ayin Ches, he has a whole tshuva. It's almost like a kuntris clarity in this case of Menias rovach, and he basically says, what does the Ritva mean? Yechayev al Orev. If it's borer, hefsid borer, if it's borer yazeka, that's when the Ritva holds his chayiv. If you're causing someone a vadai hefsid, even if it's only rovach, he's chayiv to pay. That's the shita of the Chasam Sofer in the Ritva. Now, Lamaisa, I must say, many Paiskim don't agree with the Ritva B'chlal. Don't forget, we saw the Rosh, the Ritva, the Ramban, the Mordechai. I saw the Maraponim on the Yishalmi line, but Sasi Chavalei, I didn't find anybody holds like the Ritva. And many Paiskim, in fact, reject this Ritva. But I mention it because the Chasam Sofer does seem to go with it, and we'll use it as we proceed. But let's chazer over what we see. Basically, an Adam HaMazik is chayiv, could even chayiv 5 different tashlumin. Grama b'nizakin is potter b'dini Adam, chayiv b'dini Shamayim. Nias rovach b'derech klal is potter. But if the person accepts the responsibility, or if it's bari hazeka, like the Ritva Chasam Sofer, there might be a chayiv. Now let's really apply haroitzo lachkim. Imagine someone spots $100 bill laying on the street, in a street that's roiv goyim, so certainly eila metzias harei shaloi. And someone sees him about to pick it up, and for some reason he's in a funny mood, he tackles him, holds him down, and a guy walks by and picks it up and walks away. Or someone is about to give someone else a matana, and this third person says, don't give him, he doesn't deserve it. He goes, okay, I'm not giving it. What would you say in this case, that he prevented someone from chapping a metzia or getting a matana? So again, a guy's a tzaddik is a nisht, he's not a tzaddik, but based on the Rashba in Chelik Aleph Elef Yud Dalid, this is no more than a Menias rovach. I didn't damage the other person, I took away a potential profit. Okay. So this is a wonderful example of Menias rovach, that's pot. Now let's go a step further. The troublemaker feels guilty. What did I do? I caused him a loss of profit. I got machayev. is he chayiv lotzeis b'dinei shamayim. Now listen to a beautiful ha'ara. What's the shayla? Because even grama that's not chayiv is chayiv b'dinei shamayim. So why don't we say menias rovach that's patam is also chayiv b'dinei shamayim? And indeed the Radvaz in Chelik Aleph Pei Daled he says menias rovach is chayiv patam b'dinei adam and chayiv b'dinei shamayim. Maritz, that means the amount of Tzaloin in the Tshuvas, the end of Tzadik Hey, also one of the earlier Poiskim, he was a contemporary of the Beis Yosef. He's talking about a different Shaila, but he writes it for the Pashit. This is the regular Mavatel Kisai, that's Patim with the other Mechai Medina Shemayim. And I saw a number of other Poiskim, the Aveneza, the Shalom Meshiv, and others, all say that when we say Menias Rebach is Patim, but it's Chai Medina Shemayim. Now, it's interesting, how are you going to figure out how much he has to pay? If I'm mazik begrama, so you look at the damage, and I'm chayiv b'dinei shemayim. But how do you calculate menias rovach? So you have to get a fair assessor that could figure this out. But Rabbi said, what we see from this is a tremendous chiddush. The menias rovach, that's certainly pata, but there's still chayiv b'dinei shemayim. The truth is, there's a big makam l'chalik. Because if there's no mazik whatsoever, how could there be a chiyav lotzav b'dei shemayim? The case of grama, even though he's not chayiv to pay because only a grama, but at the end of the day the vase is broken or the animal was stolen, there's a hezek. So if there's a hezek, there's chiyav b'dei shemayim. The case of menias rovach, there's no mazik whatsoever. Why is the chiyav lotzav b'dei shemayim? More so, and this really bothered me, the Shami's lashon is very clear. Ein loy, the Tosefta's lashon is clear. Ein loy olav ela tarumais. Why did they say ein loy olav ela chiyav latzeis b'dei shemayim? And the Gemara speaks about it, the chiyav latzeis b'dei shemayim. And the Imrei Bina in the Shas and Chuvas Siman Aleph Sifka and Ches, he taka says that there's no chiyav latzeis b'dei shemayim, and the raya is ein loy olav ela tarumais. But I imagine the Radvaz held that the vart is any causing of loss to the chiyav lotzeis shemayim. So who cares if it's a cause of hezek, a cause of loss? A mensch bist du nicht. You cause someone, you tackle him before he grabs $100. What kind of mensch are you? So it seems that the machlaikis is it chayiv lotzeis b'dinei shemayim even though there's no hezek or not? Now, Lamaisa, I can't paskin this shaila, but I can tell you most paiskim hold there is a chiyav, and I can understand why. So to even be a suffix, the Bernstam's blacklist is something we don't want to do. But Rabbi said we could reduce this question because very often the menias rovach that took place was not bemazed. It was a mistake. I give you an example. Someone caused someone a loss accidentally. He didn't know. He didn't realize what happened. So this is pashit that there's no chiyav lotzeis b'dei shemayim. Because even by grama, we said earlier, grama that's chayiv b'dei shemayim only when there's a mazid. When it's a shaygig or certainly an aynis, you pata. So kolshkein, menias rovach, that somehow is no chiyav at all. So even if you want to be machmir like the Radvaz, that there's a chiyav lotzeis b'dei shemayim, that's if there's a mazid. Like the case, they stopped them from getting an aveda or getting a matana. But if there's an oynis or a shaygig, and Taka the Maritz himself at the end of the tshuva says, if he meant good, there's no chiyav even lotzeis b'dei shemayim. Okay, consider the following question. I have a lot of fields, I can't work in them. I get a worker, take care of the fields. And if you work good, you'll get half the profit. And that was the end of our agreement. If you get half of the profit. And Lamaisa, the worker was lazy, and he did nothing, and nothing was produced. Does he have to pay me? So, I hope this sounds familiar. This is the mission that we began with. But there's one difference. Here, I didn't stipulate, if you don't work, you're going to have to pay me. I said, if you work, you're going to get, I didn't say the other half. You look in Chayshim Mishpat Shin Chav Ches Siv Beis, the Mechaber says you have to pay, and the Sma proves from the Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch that this is so much understood that if you leave the field alone, well, I'm going to lose money. So it's so much understood that even if you don't say, and you don't make up, you have to pay. So that's basically the halacha. If you give someone a field to work on, it's not optional. He has to pay you if he doesn't work. What's interesting, the Rambam, Hilchos Beis Gimel says, and let's say he left the field alone, and the field was devalued, got damaged slightly by neglect. So the Rambam says he's chayiv because peisheya kamazik. The Beis Yosef and our Simon, Shin Chav Ches Beis, quotes the Ravid that it's not a mazik, leaving something alone, not a mazik, but it's part of the agreement. But all agree that if you leave the field unworked, he has to pay als the mazik. Besides, he has to pay the fact that he didn't produce and didn't get profit. Question, someone calls up a business associate who's not in, so he left a message to the secretary, listen, make sure you tell your boss that if he gets to this meeting in a few hours, he'll make a lot of money. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Make sure he's there. Tell him, don't forget. If he's not there, he's losing a big profit. Unfortunately, the secretary forgot, and the boss lost a big profit. And he found out about it, and he wants to require his secretary to pay. So again, it's unfortunate, but this is not more than Menias Rovach. The boss could have made a good deal. It was not amazing, so l'chayra, it would not even be chayiv lots b'dinei shamayim. This is a mistake, people make mistakes, we have to say basheret and that's it. But the only point is, in the Mechaben Kuf Pei Gimel Aleph, which is one of the halachos Menias Rovach, he says if you give money to another person, a shliach, the Nesivos HaMishpat on that Mechaba picks up and says, but let's say you gave your worker to do a deal, and he doesn't do the deal. By a poil, we will mechayiv him to pay Menias Rovach. The logic probably is, if that's your job and you didn't do your job, you have to pay. So Menias Rovach is pata, but Zok the Nesivos Menias Rovach by a poil is chayiv. The Aruch HaShulchan in Sif Aleph quotes us la'alocha. So according to this, might make sense that the secretary who's paid to give over messages and doesn't do that might have to pay, even though it's Menias Rovach. But I must say, not all agree to this. The Sivais, many places can argue on it, and also, I think might be a chilik. If someone's job is to make deals, to make profit, and he doesn't do his job, so he has to pay. The secretary was not hired to give over specifically messages about a meeting. It's a general work of being a secretary. So you can't say it was negligent in the actual shlichus of making money. So hopefully that we a svara that the secretary would not be chayiv to pay. But I must mention the concept of it that a poil has to feel much more responsibility. Being a poil, according to the Nesivos, would be chayiv even on Menias Rovach. Question: a person rented a bungalow. I'll give you a good example, for 2 months, for the summer months. And he decided at the beginning of August he's leaving, and he gave no notice. He called up the balabas, I'm leaving today, have a nice summer, and he pulls out. He's a chacham because he was, before the summer, he only paid for 1 month. He had a little of a suffix. And now the balabas is unhappy. He tried to get a tenant for the bungalow, to no avail. And the bungalow sat empty the entire month of August. Is there any claim on the tenant that just left with no prior notice? So l'chayra, this is a Menias Rovach. There's no hezek. Fakir, the bungalow, there's no wear and tear. It was sat, nothing happened. However, this can't be, because the Mechab and Shin Yud Bei Zayin says that a tenant can't leave without giving ample notice. Obviously, a tenant that does leave without prior notice is required to pay. And the question is why. So, the Shar HaMishpat, Afanart, Shin Yud Bei Sif Cotton Beis, he has a big chiddush, and he says, the Mechaber says you have to pay, that's the paying bidei shamayim. Chiv bidei shamayim. But the other is no chiv. There's a Menias Rovach. But he's probably a das yachid, because the Nachas Tzvi, which is the Mechaber of the Pischei Tshuva, in the back of Chayshim Mishpat, he quotes this Shara Mishpat and he disagrees. And he says, what do you mean? This is a case of Bari Azeka. You leave an apartment empty with no warning, and when there's Bari Azeka, we saw the Ritva. He's taka Chayev to pay. But then he says another Yisayid, even without the Ritva. And he quotes a Noid Bihud and Chayshem Mishpat Siman Nun Ches, that if a person made a contract, I'm going to pay X amount of dollars per month for 2 months. So the Chiyuv is X amount of dollars for 2 months. You can't break an obligation to pay. Once he started to pay, the Chiyuv is Chal, and even if you don't live there, you have to pay. The Chiyuv began and continues regardless if he's there or not. Azay Zaktanayt Bihudim. Therefore, even if he left, the Chiyuv continues. Now the Shar Melech must have held, Shar Mishpat must have held, once he left, he broke the contract. But again, the Nachasvi feels the contract is one unit. Once he started paying, he has to pay until the end of the contract. Lamaisa, the Erech Shai and the Mishpat Shol, that's the Bejana Rav, on this simon both point to the Ritva. It is a case of Bari Azeka. Lamaisa, and all agree that a tenant has to give the Balabas ample warning. If he leaves and the landlord could not find another tenant, he would have to pay. If the tenant finds another tenant, no, Tavila Bracha, it's a good idea. But just to pull out and say Menias Rovach is Keneged the Shulchan Aruch. Consider the following question. Someone obviously is in a mischievous mood, and he puts some different locks on someone's door. The person comes home at night, he can't get into his own house. So he has to spend his night in someone else's home. He locked someone out of his house. The next morning said, joke's on you, which wasn't funny. So does he have to pay? The person was a victim of his own house. So a terrible avla it is, but at the end of the day, this is no more than Menias Rovach. In fact, the Rosh in Bava Kama, in Beis Vav, says even if he's a little more mischievous, he goes into the house, he picks up the fellow, takes him out, locks him out, and runs away. He's pata. Because at the end of the day, there's no hezek. He didn't hurt the person, he didn't hurt the house. A Menias Rovach. Now, Lamaisa, this is quoted in Chayshem Mishpat Reish Samach Gimel Sif Katan Vav. I'll tell you a bigger chiddush, and you're not going to like this, but the Machne Ephraim, in Gzeil Yud Aleph and the Shar Mishpat of Anart say, even if the person has to pay hotel overnight, he has no chiyuv to pay the hotel as far as a mazik, it's only a grama. So this is the implications of Menias Rovach. Let's say this troublemaker is even more aggressive. He says, listen, the other fellow's locked out, okay? Forget about him. It's a pity to leave the house unused, like Zenan Zelechos or Baltashchis. So he lives in the house overnight. So the other fellow was evicted and he's living there. So that, you say, is going too far. But why is he going too far? So here, if you notice, this case is different than all the previous cases. Why? This is the first case of a Menias Rovach that the person is being nena. He's enjoying the other person's rovach. Till now, he caused someone to lose a deal. He didn't gain anything. All the case Menias Rovach, a lost deal. But here, he's benefiting from the other person's loss. That is a chiyuv. The rush is meferish. In that case, if you're living in the house, you're chayiv al snene. And that's all in Shulchan Aruch Reish Samach Gimel Sivav. Now, consider the next case. This troublemaker is really in a wicked mood, and he's even more aggressive. He sees someone about to go to work in the morning, so 5 to 9 he puts a different lock on the door, and the person is banging and banging, cannot go to work that day. And he's a schir yoim, he gets paid X amount of dollars per day, and the whole day he's home banging, cannot get out of the house. Again, this is a terrible breach in midos, but at the end of the day, this is no more than Menias Rovach, and you can't be mechayim to pay. A unrealized profit is Menias Rovach. But, and says the Rosh in Bava Kama Ches Gimel, There's one exception. Let's say the fellow already started going to work. He left his house, he's on the way to the train station. And this mischievous fellow picks him up, puts him in his house, and then locks the door. Zok the Rosh, in that case he has to pay the full sheves, the unemployment for that day. What do you mean? It's minias rovach. So the Rosh, as I told you in Bava Kama Ches Gimel, points to a Gemara. The Gemara is in Bava Kama, Pehem at Beis, the Sugya, the Hatke B'Endroina, which means if you lock someone in the house, you're not a mazik. You didn't do anything, you just locked him in. But if you push him into the house and lock him in, that's an Adam HaMazik. Because you pushed him in and then locked the door. That's considered Adam HaMazik. Zok the Rosh, a beautiful Yesoid. So if I pick him up, push him into his house and lock him in and he can't go to work, it's not just Menias Rovach, it's Adam HaMazik with Menias Rovach. What does Adam HaMazik with Menias Rovach translate to? Sheves. Because since I pushed him in, I'm a case of Hadkei B'Indroina, that's an Adam HaMazik, and he's Chayv even on Sheves. And that taka is Mechaba and Choshe Mishpat Tav Chav Sif Yud Aleph. So everything is Mefurish, you have to just apply the right formula to the right case. Now you might be wondering, wait, this doesn't seem to make sense. I push him in and lock him in, I pay Sheves. But the previous case, I schlepped him out of his house and I locked him out. I was potter. Why? I also schlepped him out. The chiluk is pashit. If I lock him, I push him into his house, lock him up, and he can't go to work, I'm an Adam HaMazik with Sheves. If I schlep him out of his house and lock him out, what did I do? I did something wrong, but what did I do? There's no Sheves. He's not unemployed that day. He can't live in his house. That's not Sheves. If by moving him forcefully I make a Sheves, he doesn't go work, that's Taka Am Chayiv. Canceling a worker is more than a big avla. It's also Menias. It's all, besides Menias Rovach, we saw the Mishnah and we saw the many Hesberim that Avada, canceling a worker, is Chayiv. The Mechab and Shilam and Gimel Bey says this. The Ktsois HaChoshen quotes his son, Abocha Mufla Yosef Doiber, that asks, why are you Chayiv when you cancel a worker? It's no more than Mevatel Kisa Shel Chaver Ar Yishalmi. And the Ktsois answers him an interesting chiddush. He says that Lamaisa, if you cancel a worker, you're an Adam HaMazik. And then you're Chayiv Al Sheves. That's what the Ktsois learns. But then he adds a different shot, that whenever there's a worker, Balabas relationship, there has to be a responsibility. Just like we find that if the worker doesn't show up and the Balabas loses, he has no work, no worker, no work done, the worker has to pay. It's a mutual agreement. The maskir and the soichas apayalim, nobody could back out. He calls that a davar avod, a nayachiyah between a worker and the balabas relationship. You can't cancel the worker can't not show up, both have to keep their part of the agreement. But Rabbi say, let's remember, canceling a worker is a chiyuv and choshe mishpat. Unless, of course, he didn't start working, didn't start even coming to you, and he could find the work elsewhere. But to cancel a work is wrong. I mean, people call a car service, and then someone says, oh, I'll take you to the chasana. You can't cancel a car service unless you caught them before they started coming to pick you up. But once they started coming, this is mamish, the mishnah in Bav Metzia, Seichas Omnin, you can't cancel. Someone was parked in a real illegal spot, a towaway spot. So he told his friend, I must daven mincha, here's the keys, please move the car right away. Friend said, okay, I'll do it. For some reason this friend didn't realize how urgent it was. He also went to daven mincha. And he came out, there's no car, like dubim lo yar. The car was ticketed and towed, now it's in the impound, and he has a few $100 loss. Can he require his friend, or his ex-friend I should say, to pay for the ticketing and the towing? So the truth is, this is not just Menias Rovach, understandably. This is a case of hezek. ticket and towing is a few $100s. But then again, it's not a typical mazik. This is Grama b'nezakon. Because he didn't do anything. He didn't give a ticket. He didn't tow the car. The only issue, which is not for this sugya, which we once spoke about, there's a whole share for itself, there's a chiluk between Grama and Garmi. When the hezek is instant, immediate, then it's not just a Grama, it's a Garmi. Now, the police in New York City are Mekayim, Zrizin, Magdim, and the mitzvahs, and the tickets are immediate, or close to that. So probably in a towaway zone, it's taka a shchicha zeka, bari zeka, immediate. It would be more like Garmi than Grama, and it would be Chayev Bediné Adam. But minimally, there's a Chayev Bediné Shamayim. Question. This actually happened. Someone had a beautiful new home. He approached an insurance broker. I want very good coverage. He gave him a down deposit. Don't forget, register me. I want to have insurance. The broker forgot to register him. And there was a fire shortly afterwards. And now he's claiming insurance. They say, we don't know anything about you. He was not registered. He was not filed. There was absolutely no legal insurance on this home. A tragic story, but the truth is, there's no chiyuv to pay. The broker has no chiyuv to pay. There's no hezek. He didn't burn the house down. The Gemara says if someone gives a fire to a chereshayit of a cotton who does damage, that's the case of grama. Because he had a hand in the fire. But the insurance broker did nothing to the fire. He didn't make the fire. He didn't blow the fire. He has nothing to do with the fire. So it's not even a grama nezakin. Is it menias rovach? That maybe. You had a way of claiming your losses, and I caused you a loss of the profit of insurance claim. Zok the divrei malkil in chelekei reish chav beis. This very case, Olam Zerav, that in that case it's no more than menias rovach. He says a beautiful chap, which becomes a thing, but he says, if I hire you to put down a mattress, because I know my vase coming right out the window, quickly put down a mattress, and you say I'll do it, and you don't do it, then that case I can make you pay, because you had a hand in the damage. It crashed down because of lack of mattress. But here the fire didn't come because of a lack of insurance. The fire would have happened anyhow. And he says that in this case you cannot be mechayev the insurance broker to pay. He says, he was my shliach, my poil, and we saw a shita earlier. By a poil, there's a chiyuv, let's say, there's a chiyuv on menias rovach. So he says, I don't know about today, but he says in his times, the insurance broker is not working for the client. He's working for the company. Probably true the same today also. Even though they want you to feel I'm working for you, but the insurance brokers are working for the company. So he's not even shliach of the insured person. Therefore, he says, there will be no chiyuv other than perhaps if you hold a chiyuv lots b'dei shamayim. A person called the car service because he has to make a flight to make a very promising business deal, and the car service delayed and a sort of a negligence, and now he missed the flight and missed a big opportunity to make a big profit. So there's no doubt about it. L'chayra, this is a menias rovach. I didn't damage you. And indeed, there's a Chuvas Hara Carmel, a Chayshim Mishpat Siman Yud, that seems to say differently, however. He says if a person hired a balagola to bring him to the Yerid, he had all his chayr ready, and that's the only way to get there, he had balagola. The balagola never showed up. And now he has chayra with no Yerid. So the Har Carmel says he's mechuyev to pay, in this case, because he caused them damages. Now he's assuming that either like the Ritzvah, since it's a bari hazeka, he's mechuyev to pay out menias rovach, which is a vadei bari hazeka. That's what I saw in the Har Carmel. That was printed a few hundred years ago. I then saw a Marshag. The Marshag does not quote the Har Carmel. He lived a few hundred years after the Har Carmel. In Chelik Dal, the end of Siman Kuf Ches, he goes with a different shayla, I must tell you, but he's talking about a case of a bari hazeka that's chayiv, but he says the following: if the Cause is in a different part of the story. Not I directly caused you a loss of profit. There's an indirect cause of loss of profit. That's not even menias rovach. And listen to his lashon. I hired a balagola, a car service, to bring me to a train station, to make a train, to make a deal. And the balagola does not, his pesheya doesn't come. Does anybody ever think that he's chayiv to pay? So, I missed my flight because the balagola didn't take me to the airport or the train station. The Marshag is convinced without a shadow of a doubt, because it's not a menias rovach in the schayra gufa. It's me getting to the airport to catch a flight to sell my schayra. That's much too far removed, and no one holds that there's any chiyuv whatsoever, even if it's bari azeka. So I am certain, according to the Marshag, if the taxi was negligent, I missed my flight, and because of my flight I missed my deal, there would not be a chiyuv, even menias rovach of a vaday. That's what the Marshag holds. Now, I don't know if he agrees to the Har Carmel or the Har Carmel agrees to him. Maybe the chiluk is if he stipulated. But like the Marshag, this is too far removed of a menias rovach. But one thing I think is pashut, if the ticket that of the flight that he missed is a non-refundable ticket, so that's a grama b'nizakin. You know, I came late, I missed the flight. If he can't get another flight, so that would be a grama b'nizakin, and the car service would have a chiyuv to pay at least midei shamayim. Question, this I saw the true story. The Gabbai told the Balkaira, listen closely. There's a Gevir sitting here, and we have to give him an aliya, but there's no other aliyas. I want to give him achrain, and make sure you stop a few psukim to make an achrain. Balkaira says, no problem. The Balkaira forgot, and lay till the end. And now the Balkaira, who's a firma erlechiyid, he feels guilty. He caused the shul a loss of a mishaberach that probably in the 3 or 4 digits, not just a simple mishaberach, and he feels guilty. Does he have any chiyuv, landlord shamayim, to give the shul what they lost because of his mistake? So this is no more than a menias rovach. But then again, there's a chiyuv, some holds a chiyuv landlord shamayim. So I wondered, why are you blaming the Balkair? Where was the Gabbai? If you see he went right, stop him. You know, you're allowed to stop him. So they're both a little fashlafen. But Lamaisa, this case indeed is only a menias rovach. We saw earlier that many paiskim hold the chiyuv landlord shamayim, but there's no mezid. This is an einus. Shaygig you want to call it. And I saw that they say from Adana Yom Tov Chelik Aleph Memvav, he says that therefore this is a case of menias rovach, that there is no mezid, and he's takapata. He says he's a poyel. Some say the chiv a poyel. He's paid to lane, not to make hisofis. He says it. Also, if you're getting paid, if this is Shabbos, he can't get paid for laning. You know, it's Char Shabbos, so he's getting paid for preparing and laning. Lamaisa, it seems that this would not be a chiv even lots of day shemai. The same is true if the Gabbai somehow forgot to sell one of the aliyas and Yishu lost the revenue of the mishaberach. That would be a menias rovach that is pot. A person, there's a true story also, someone had an apartment in Eretz Yisrael for the Yom Tovim, which is a hot item. If you rent it, people will rent it. If you put it up for rental, people will grab it. So he put an ad in a local newspaper, and no one called. He couldn't believe it. Mamish didn't make sense. But he went to Chutz La'aretz. When he got to Chutz La'aretz, he saw the ad. It was the wrong information. Wrong phone number. And people must have called at the wrong number. So now he wants to require the newspaper that he paid money for to reimburse him. He lost all that profit, that rental. And it was a bari hazeka. It certainly would have been rented. So this, the Mishpat Torah in Bava Metzia, Simon Nun Hey has this shaila, and he says again, it's unfortunate, but this is no more than menias rovach. Now, the fact is that it's a bari hazeka, that's true, but Lamaisa, we saw according to many paiskim, even a bari hazeka would be pata. We saw the chiddush of the Chasam Sofer, true, but like most paiskim, a menias rovach is pata. What he could do is demand reimbursement for the ad, which of course was a mekach tois, but more than that is l'chayra unfair. He has another shaila there, where a person had a flight to make a very big profit, and the travel agent made a mistake in the booking, and he got to the airport, there's no flight. There was a mistake in the booking of the airline ticket. So again, he lost a very big profit, but that would also be a case of meni'as rovach. Question: someone has a partnership with someone in a business, and one partner, without consulting with his other partner, decides to give a big reduction, a big sale, and he sells all the merchandise. The other partner finds out about it, and he's hysterical, says, this is good merchandise, we don't have to make sales to sell it. Why'd you do that? You gave it 25% off, I lost 12.5% of profit because of your decision. You should have asked me. And he's very upset about it. So this is a little more of an issue, because really it's only meni'as rovach, we lost profit, but the Mechaba in Kuf Ayin Vav Yudal, the way the Nesivos learns it up in Tivkot and Lamed Aleph, that shutvis have more obligations one to the other. You can't just make a sale on your own. And by a shutuf, says the Nesivos, there's a chiyuv even on meni'as rovach. You have to approach with caution. This is not your own business. Now the Imrei Bina in Halvol Lamed Aleph points to a Maram Rutenberg from the earliest Rishonim in Dvus Kremoina, Simon Tezayin, that seems to hold even by a shutif. L'maisa, meni'as rovach is not a mazik. So this would be a suffix, and certainly you can't be moitzi mamim misafik. But the point is, again, to reiterate, meni'as rovach by a partner or a worker is much more serious. You have obligation to other people, you have to be faithful. Let me leave you with a few interesting shilas. Each one could be a tein l'chacham v'yech kemoid. A person that I mentioned earlier picked up a bunch of boxes of esrogim from the airport, put it in his garage, brought it to the soicha. After Sukkos, found an unopened box of esrogim sitting in the back of his garage. There must be 50 esrogim, and it was a very good season. He would have sold most of them. Bekitza, the loss is in the thousands of dollars to the soicha. So he wants to just pick up the box, bring it to the soicha, says, here you are, have a nice day. Is that correct? Again, we're talking about a very good season that he would have sold the majority of them at good profit. So it's very unfortunate, it's very sad, but it's a meni'as rovach. I'll say it's big money, but then again, if you lock a CEO into his house for a day, and he could also make a lot of money, there's no din of meni'as rovach, only chayiv, only pata on $1,000 or less. Meni'as rovach is pata. So who cares if it's a lot of money? So the Rabbi say, here we come to a fascinating sugya, which I hope to do by itself. It's a big sugya, but in Yanenu I have to mention at least briefly. This case of the box of esrogim is different than all the previous cases for one obvious reason. In all the previous cases of meni'as rovach, there's nothing changing in anything. The CEO that was locked in remains the same. All the cases of the deals that I missed, but no damage took place. Think about our case. A box of esrogim after Sukkos is not even worth lots of pitzluchisoi. Maybe for esrog jelly, but otherwise it's worthless. Imagine someone told someone else, I bought someone a $1,000 ticket to see a mashas, give it to him. And he gave it to him promptly this past Thursday morning, after the siyum. They can say, well, meni'as rovach, a ticket to see a mashas on Thursday is worth $0. So maybe the esrogim after Sukkos, which are really worth $0, maybe taka that's a mazik. Once you're dealing with a mazik, it's much more than meni'as rovach. Or you'll say, wait a minute, show me a damage in the esrog. If I'm an esrog seicha, the esrogim after Sukkos are better than before Sukkos because they're less green. Where's the hezek? You're telling me because the date? That's a hezek shein and ikka. Hezek shein and ikka is not a hezek. So here we come to an interesting thing. There's no noticeable damage in the esrogim. So maybe there's no chiyuv whatsoever. So back to the rovach. Or you say, what are you talking about? On esrog after Sukkos, a person who's blind can see it's worthless. It's worse than someone who's metame and a metame madame is hezek shein and ikka because you can't see it. An esrog after Sukkos is like a ticket to the Siyam Hashas after the Siyam Hashas. It's as nick as can be. But then again, what's wrong? The ticket says the same VIP and nothing changed. So this is a big sugya, but what it's negayah to is the classic case, someone was even more wicked. He stole his friend's $500 esrog and returned with him promptly after Sukkos. Is it considered ha'ishavain? Think about that. But I must tell you that Panameirais and Aleph Pei Beis says if someone was held on to schayra until after the Yerid, he's chayiv to pay al garmi. He does consider this a form of hezek, because after the Yerid, schayra is valueless. But certainly, like the Panameirais, an esrog after Sukkos or a ticket to the Siyam Hashas after the Siyam is a worthless item. Question: someone needed a loan, and his friend extended the loan to him and said, but listen, I need the money back in 6 months. I have to close a deal. If I don't have money, I'm going to lose a deal. I'm going to lose a lot of money. You must pay back. No problem. Comes from every week. No problem, no problem. 6 months, 8 months, no money, and he lost a big profit because he didn't invest his money. He had no money to invest. Could he be mechayev his friend, or ex-friend that is, to pay the loss? So the chayra, that is unfortunate, but it's no more than a menias rovach. I lost a potential profit, but it's no more than that. But Rabbi say here, there's another fact you have to keep in mind. If you're going to require the loiva to pay for the lost profit, there's also an issue of ribis, because you're getting money because of the money that you lent. What you lost because of a loan, that's ribis. You have to be very careful. Even if it's menias rovach, you'll say it's a vaday and all the chiyuvim, but besides that, in the case of a halva, lost profit because of an halva, a late halva, is no more than a problem of ribis also. Someone pointed out also, when people are not careful with checks and they cause loss, that could be a question of also this sugya. And last but not least, I want to mention something. I don't have a hez, maybe someone could help me. The Archashochen in Siman Samach Aleph Yud Aleph says nearly, he has no makar, but he says nearly, dafke menias rovach from an asik that I could have made is potter. But if you stop someone from making panasa, lemechyasai, that's considered a hezek and you have to pay. You prevent someone from making panasa, you have to pay. And his raya is a beautiful raya indeed from Hilchos Cholamoid Tafkuf Lamates Sifei. We don't go to work in Cholamoid. I davar ovid is mutter, but going to work is making a profit. Menias rovach is not a davar ovid. But the Mechaber says if there's a rare opportunity of buying or selling something, you're allowed to do it on Cholamoid. So the Archashochen seems to compare Hilchos Cholamoid to Hilchos Menias rovach. The question is, no one quotes this. L'maisa, it's only Menias rovach. What should be the chilik? I couldn't talk to you all. Yeah.
Shame Egenshooter, like a big Esher character of Smith for today's share. Smith said the seekum of today's share in 5 minutes. Ezra Hashem. Chananya ben Akashem, Rasakadosh Baruch Lazakes, Yisrael Figure Hebelehem. Torah Mitzvahs, Shenema. Lenech Office of Man Tzidka, Yagdol Terve Yadeh.
Right.
Good. The fiduciary responsibility. So either the bachisa, you can go after. Yeah. And make it sure. If he doesn't, he has to do it. Okay. Errors in the mission. Errors in the mission. You have to prove it. You have sent him an email. He does that. He has to do it. Good.
Figure it out.
Only for the ticket. An airline has only
bin ich gewesen, ich finde im Sommer, I am now working for Angle Normal 80% ganze Welt
if bank goes like this, people are like, I'm saying, go ahead and see it.
6 months something gemacht. Weggeworfen alle kleine Schilders. And they have a shul, they have the only from that. Oh, you from that? I'm buying it. The only certainly they buy the source all the time. Don't
Can't sign up Sunday. I caused you to lose your balance. That's only an income that wasn't developed.
try to come back from the secretary.
After that, which makes me very doctor. They have so many things like that.
Right.
If it's light oil, that's the tool. Simcha, don't go away, we'll do a minute. Speaking red lights. Main vision, the one that main vision. Speaking at main job. You have a job. He doesn't know what you're pitch for time. He's very himself.
In the ballpark, you can find a week or a gap week.
Yo, there's a master of the whole tool.
Here I can get it.
You don't need an extra check.
They use the code number. You have a list.
Ticketing and towing is looked at to get out. You know how to get out. How it goes.
When I name them, it's the code number.
Isn't that a drive out?
I'm
That's what I think.
That's the same thing you see in the days go for the veterans that want to that I can't change. And I can title them. When I title them, I think there's room for more information. I don't know how it show up. The first thing I can name is title. Video.
Not mamish, because milchim is not that much. Gosh, it's a double. Simba! I wish I could come last night.
What is that? Sikkim.
So adamant that
You signed your seats?
I don't know. Anyways,
Not done yet?
I don't know if you know, my brother a week ago, 2 weeks ago, there was a big car accident. He was riding in a taxi and it slid. There was, icy and snow, and he ended up right in the tree. Car right in the tree. No, not he. The car.
Within
the tree. So his neck is he had a fractured neck, fractured bone. Yeah, no, Baruch Hashem. I'll give you a cell number.
After the sequel.
Just leave on table. I'll take care of it.
We're trying not to take away anyone's time. Of the meniat zman, meniat rovach. Everyone has to go to work. Smith said the sikkim of today's shir.
Just a review, what we learned today, Bez Hashem, meniat rovach is not a mazik because there's no damage. That's pashit, there's no damage, there's no mazik. If so, he's potter. Sheves, that you have to pay, that the person wasn't able to work, is different because there was an adam mazik, and now we have to calculate how much sheves. But a regular meniat harevach, you prevented someone from making a profit, you stopped someone from making a deal. At most is meniat revach. We saw based on the Tosefta, which the Yerushalmi explains and calls מבטל כיסו של חבירו, which is similar to meniat revach. There is no chiyuv to pay on a מבטל כיסו or meniat revach, which is one and the same. If he made up beforehand, I'm giving you a field, work in it, and if it produces, we're going to divide it. If you don't work, you're going to have to pay me. Then you have to pay, even though it's only meniat revach. But since he stipulated that you're going to have to pay if you don't work, then he has to pay because of the contract. There is a p'tur of meniat revach, but he has tarumais. Tarumais is a beautiful appreciation of a yid's midos tayves. If you have no heter tarumais, you can't be fatainet, you can't be upset. This gives you a license to have tainis because he caused you a loss of profit. The case of sending someone to buy wine and he didn't buy the wine at a great discount that he has to pay you for some of the losses is the reason why you're chayav either because you made up you're going to pay, so it's like a regular agreement, or the Ritva says it's a din arev, which the Ritva holds is chiyuv, and some Seif explains because it's bari azeka. That would be a different factor according to the Ritva when you're chayiv. A person stopped someone from picking up an aveda or getting a gift, it's no more than meniat revach. With the question that we discussed is there chiyuv lotzis b'dei shemayim? You caused them a loss of a profit. And most poskim hold there is, and the hesber is, because at the end of the day, you're a grama, not a grama nezikin, a grama in a potential loss. All agree if there's no kavanah to be mazik or to make a loss, it was an accident, even a shaygig, then there's no chiv lots of b'dei shamayim. The case of the field that if you don't work you're going to pay, the Shulchan Aruch, the Sma explains, even if you don't make up explicitly, he has to pay because that's an unspoken condition. The secretary, they forgot to give over the message. Unfortunately, it's a loss of a profit, but it's no more than a loss of a profit, and it's menias rovach, and you have to say basheret is basheret. It was not basheret to make the deal. We saw some hold the poil is different, a tremendous insight. The poil has to feel responsibility, so that would be more of a responsibility on a poil, but not all agree to that. A tenant that leaves early has to pay. That's part of the agreement. The agreement is still in effect. You can't just leave. You have to give the landlord enough notice. A lock a person out of the house, even if you drag him out and lock him out, is no more than a menias rovach. Of course, it's a terrible thing to do, but there's no chiyuv. You lock someone into his house, he can't go to work. That's menias rovach. If you push him into the house, lock the door, that's an adam hamazik, and therefore there's a chiyuv sheves on that adam hamazik. You can't cancel a car service or a worker unless the car service is late and you're going to miss your appointment, then you're allowed to call a different car service. But basically, canceling a worker or a car service is the same avla of hasoich as a umnin. You can't cancel. A person forgot to move someone else's car and it was ticketed and towed. That's a gramo or maybe even a garmi, and it would be chayiv. Minimally, lots of b'dei shamayim. If it's a garmi, it's chayiv b'dei adam. Insurance broker that forgot to register, the person would be put to someone did tell me that today there is a clause that even if he forgets to do it, there's an insurance for that also, so this wouldn't be negeya. But in theory, at least, when it was negeya, it would be a menias rovach. The car service that's late and he missed the flight is a very far menias rovach. The Mashak says there's no chiv whatsoever. The Balkair or the Gabbai forgot to sell or make the aliya, and therefore they lost their mesheberach money. There's no chiv. It's menias rovach. Wrong information for the ad, or he forgot he booked the flight incorrectly. In all cases, of menias rovach, that there is no chiyuv. A shutiv makes a loss to his other shutiv. Some say it's menias rovach, some say it's worse. A shutiv has no right to make any bargains or sales without the reshus of the other partner. A box of esrogim that were left unused until after Sukkos is unfortunate, but that's a menias rovach. Some hold it's a hezek. The fact that it's worthless after Sukkos, and it's noticeably worthless, no one could use an esrog after Sukkos, like a ticket to a siyam hashas after the siyam hashas, and there would be no chiyuv, there would be a mazik would have to pay. Money that comes late, and he paid the loan after the person lost a potential profit, is both menias rovach, and to make him pay for it would be ribis. And the Aruch HaShulchan has a chiddush that if someone's business would be a chiyuv to pay. Now, someone was tiny, but if his business is not a rovach, true. But then again, if we hold menias rovach as part because he doesn't have it yet, he's not mazik anything that he has yet, the shlachar is no difference if it's a profit or a person's panasa.